All right, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Loudmouth MMA podcast. I am your host, Kyle Steele. This week, we are back to doing breakdowns. This is a great card. I enjoy doing these breakdowns anyway, but at the end of the day, they're hard to do when the cards don't match up, and we've had some stinkers as of late. So this is most certainly not UFC Japan. UFC 216, headlined by Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee, Demetrius Johnson, Ray Borg, Verdum, Lewis. The list goes on and on. There's some great prospects on here. Love this card. So I'm excited to talk about it. But before I introduce my co-host, let me remind everybody to please go check out the Voball. That is TheVoball. Go to the website. Check out the Voball. It's a boxing trainer. It's going to hang from your ceiling. You punch it. It's going to bounce off the ceiling and come back at you. And that way you can train head movement, break a sweat, whatever it is you want to use it for, you can use it for. You can knee it, you can elbow it, you can headbutt it, you can do whatever. So please go check out the Voball. There's tons of videos out there that will show you how to use them. It's a great product. Again, that's TheVoball, thevoball.com. Let me introduce my co-host. Joining me, as always, is our DFS expert, Mr. Jonathan Ihas. Hello, Sean.
Jonathan.
Mr. Jonathan Ihas.
I'll take it. You can call me whatever you want for UFC 216.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for everyone who had to listen to that read just now, because that was Kyle stalling for me as my wife came downstairs with a teething daughter, and she's the MVP of this podcast because she basically rocked her to sleep and said, "Go and do what you have to do."
Yeah.
Keeping in mind, I'm sure I'm on call if something happens, but. Got to say that, and you know what? You should get a Voball anyway. And I'm excited for this card. We were talking before. We disagree a bunch.
Yes,
so it should be fun.
We disagree all over the place, which is that's good. I think that's good for our listeners to hear where we disagree. Let me make sure that let me turn my little thing down. Oh, guys, Mr. Tony Fagnano.
Yeah,
Tony. You are joining us as we're recording. We are just now starting the podcast. I wasn't sure if you were joining us, so welcome.
Welcome. I hope I sound okay.
You actually sound good. There's some background noise, but you sound fine. So I'm okay with the background noise as long as whenever you're not talking, you just throw yourself on mute. Just throw yourself on mute when you're not talking, then when you're talking, take it off mute, and you're going to sound great.
All right.
Great.
Excited.
I'm excited. All right. Well, we're getting into it. Sean and I were just discussing before we started recording, we realized that we disagree on a lot. So this is going to be an interesting card because, I don't know if I feel like we disagreed every other fight. So that's going to be fantastic. So let's start on the first fight of the main card. I am going to go on the order. I'm going to go on the order that is on UFC.com. So the first fight is Beneil Dariush taking on Evan Dunham. I think a lot of people are going to be picking Evan Dunham for multiple reasons. One, he has strung together some wins here, so I think that's his only losses were against. He had 3 straight losses, but it was Cerrone, RDA, and Barboza. He's then gone on to get 4 straight wins. Against Ross Pearson and Lozon and Rick Glenn, and for you DraftKings users, scoring a lot of points in those victories. So I think it's going to drive a lot of people to pick Evan Dunham. I'm going Beneil Dariush here. I am struggling to see where Evan Dunham has the advantage. I can see where maybe he doesn't have the disadvantage, but I'm struggling to see where he has an advantage. So we will start with Sean and then move on down to Tony. Sean, who are you picking and why?
This is one of the ones we agree on. Dariush is a minus 235 favorite. That's probably about where he should be. I don't have a bet on this fight, but I think Dariush, and that's only because my hang-up on this fight is that Dariush last time out suffered one of those cliche life-changing knockouts by Edson Barboza. And it's cliche, but it's true. You never know. You can only take so many of those. That was a knee that put him out, and I did pick him to spring the upset in that Barboza fight, and he was looking good. He was doing everything he had to do. He's a smart fighter. He's tactical. He's good everywhere. He's a solid top 10 in that division. And Evan Dunham just isn't. He outlasts people. He grinds fights. He makes them dirty, and he's a very very accomplished pro, but he's a gatekeeper and a guy that I think Dariush is better than pretty much everywhere. I suspect Dariush will probably beat him up for the first round and a half, maybe sink in a late sub. My pick here is Dariush by probably round 3 submission or just kind of coast to a decision. But Dunham is tough. And again, I mentioned on this podcast a few times, when that's your best quality, I have some issues with that. So I think Dariush is better. No bet here, but he is, I think, the clear pick for me. And I'm not going to fall into the Evan Dunham trap that I do agree I think a lot of people are going to fall into.
Tony, thoughts on this fight, good sir? And again, welcome. I'm excited you're here. I wasn't sure if you were coming or not, so I'm excited. And Tony has disappeared. That was quick. I don't know what just happened right there. Here, I can try to.
I bet he tried to unmute and hung up.
That is also my guess. So let me try to add him in here. That's funny. I don't mind episodes going like this. This is fine. Our listeners know. They know what's up. All right, as we are, there he is, Tony.
Yes.
Did you hit the wrong button, buddy?
I might have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hold it.
All right. Talk to me about Beneil Dariush and Evan Dunham.
I like Dariush a lot. He could even be a bigger favorite than this, and I would still take him. Very impressive against James Vick and Magomedov, and then you just ran into Barboza like a lot of people do. And he was very impressive in that fight up until that knee happened, which, obviously it was a devastating knee, and would like to see, where he's at after that happened. Like Sean said, those can be life-altering, as we've seen in the past. But barring something, like that, where he's just completely not himself, 100% taking him versus Evan Dunham.
Yeah, and who else has also fallen victim to a knockout by Edson Barboza is Evan Dunham. I mean, it's been a little while. It's been since 2014, but, he was also knocked out in the first round by Edson Barboza. So, but Dariush is not the first one here. So, all right, let's move on to the next fight here. We have... Let me go back, make sure I'm correct. I am correct. A fight that I know, so I'm going to gracefully bow out of this one. I know pretty much nothing about it. I know that... Okay, well, let me just say the fight first. You have Romero Barella taking on, I believe her name is Kalindra Faria. I believe that's it. Sorry if I just offended the entire country of Brazil. But... what I do know is KGB was originally supposed to fight Faria, and from judging by her Twitter stuff and Instagram stuff, I think was very nervous about it. So I mean, she had posted those kind of not backhanded, but those like this is a really tough girl. Like I know that I'm getting fed to the wolves right away, but I'm ready. Like those kind of things. When you see people do it, you're like, oh wow, like they're thinking. But that
wasn't why she pulled out, though.
Oh no! I'm not saying that. I'm not implying that. Sorry. If anyone thinks I'm implying that, I am not. I'm not implying that at all.
Via Megan Anderson.
Yeah, Megan Anderson pulled out because of Cyborg. She just wanted to get in the UFC and pulled out. But no, that's not what happened with KGB. KGB, there was an unfortunate circumstance. No, but I think that just goes to show you. I think that this is a very talented fighter. I've seen something of hers, but it's just not enough to really make a decision. So, Tony, do you know anything about this fight? And if so, I mean, tell me.
Well, actually, there's a great piece on from Sean on our website. He does his welcome to the UFC when there's newcomers, and obviously
what is our website and Sean who?
Wait, sorry, I forgot there was two Sean. Sean Bitter.
Sean Bitter, okay. And what is our website? What do you mean by our website?
MMA Today.
There we go. There you go, buddy. I gotta teach you how to self-promote a little better.
I gotta be more like Conor McGregor, I guess.
Exactly.
But so both of these are newcomers, obviously. Barella coming from Invicta. I actually have been following her because Forza Italia, of course. I like my Italian prospects. She has been quite impressive. Very good kickboxing. Her takedown defense is very suspect, though. Like, she has been taken down multiple times in almost all of her fights. It is clearly, an issue. But she actually does very well out of the clinch and is able to get her own takedowns from the clinch. She just can't stop any takedowns, wrestling takedowns. I don't know a whole lot about. Say that name again.
I believe her name is Kalindra Faria. I'm not looking at it right now, but I believe that's what it is.
Faria. I honestly don't know a whole lot about Faria. I thought she was going to be removed from the card when KGB had to get pulled off.
She's the Titan FC champ.
Yeah,
Titan FC.
And she fought to give you a little bit of background on her as well. Her two losses, or I guess I should say her two most recent losses. She lost some fights early in her career. So her two most recent losses that you can really count were against Jessica Aguilar in World Series of Fighting and against Carolina Klokowicz in KSW. So, and that was by split decision. She lost against Carolina by split decision. So
yeah, she's good.
She has two kind of legitimate losses. She was supposed to fight Valentina Shevchenko in Legacy FC. I believe Shevchenko wound up getting the call up to the UFC. That's why she never didn't end up fighting her. She would then go on to get 3 straight victories against people who I have no idea who they are, but don't appear to be terrible things. Other than one fighter was 0-0. Jesus, that's not a good look. But her last fight in Titan FC was a victory over someone that was 23-12 for the vacant title there. So I mean, we've learned though not to get too hung up on strength of schedule because that's a pretty big misnomer. But yeah, so that's a little bit about her. Tony. I think Tony's on mute still. It's okay though. Sean, go ahead. What do you know about this fight?
Basically, there he goes. Basically, what we just kind of recapped, I do know from the little bit I've seen on Faria, I think 7 of her wins are by submission. She has, she can sink in chokes. That's kind of how I see this fight going. But I don't know a ton about. It's very, very top level, not digging too deep analysis because I've seen Faria hit chokes, hit a couple takedowns. And as Tony mentioned, the one fight I watched of Barella, she can't stop a takedown. So basing on that, I'm going with Faria, but I got to put out the disclaimer. This is a late notice fight. As I mentioned, the Open, have a teething daughter. Haven't watched a ton on these two.
Well, and some of these
in the surface, it looks like Faria should win.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I am as well. So, all right, let's move on to Fabricio Verdum taking on Derek Lewis. This is where we disagree. This is the first fight that we disagree on here, and boy, I am struggling to see. So you're picking Derek Lewis, and I am. And I am clearly picking Verdum here. And I don't even think it's close. So why are you picking Lewis? What's the reason? I feel like you just said it right now. What is it?
Well, no, I said I have a small lean towards Lewis. I bet on this fight. It's not like a strong.
What is your small
pick.
Lean then? Walk me through.
The reason I'm leaning is I thought Fabricio Verdum he's susceptible to get into these brawls recently. He's brawling against Travis Brown, Stipe Miocic. He chased around the cage. He does it against Derek Lewis. He's going to get his ass knocked out. That's all Derek Lewis can do. He's going to throw these wild shots. Supposedly, he's worked on his cardio, which I don't totally buy. So my bet on this fight is I bet the under for 2.5 units at, let me pull up what I got it at. Stall for one more second. But for Verdum is how old now? I think Verdum is 37. He's towards the back end. There's just enough. Plus you have, if you're somebody who likes the narrative, Derek Lewis and Houston, there was plenty to talk about around that. Saving people from flood and maybe he's got a connection with the city. That's all narrative, but it's Verdum showing more of an inclination to get into these brawls and getting hurt in them and not going for the takedown like you should. And if by some by some miracle, Derek Lewis ends up on top, Verdum's jiu-jitsu goes out the window because it takes 1 or 2 ground and pound shots and you're out. Like, grappling at this level with Lewis won't go well. Verdum, if he stays technical, should win the fight. From what I've been watching, I don't think he'll do that. He's 40 years old. They both have terrible cardio. Lewis has more power. I'll take a small lean towards Lewis, but I really, really like the under. By the way, it was at 1.77 odds. So
So part of where I'm going to disagree here, and it looks like we have Tony back, so I'll get his opinion in a second here. But one thing I'll disagree on, it's not that I think that Derek Lewis doesn't have the power advantage, but the way that he uses that power. Okay, there is no secret here that Fabricio Verdum has the BJJ advantage, right? That's not a mystery. That's clear, not even close, right?
But I don't think it matters in this fight.
Or has the jiu-jitsu advantage here, right? That's not even a question. We already know that. Okay? Now, the only way, and I mean the only way, that Derek Lewis wins any fight is on top of ground and pound. That's it. It's the only way he does it. So if he doesn't do that, he's not going to win. He lost.
No, he could knock out Verdum one punch knockout. He has that power.
Based off of what? What are you basing it off of?
Basing off of the power you can see. He hits with power. A lot of times he knocks guys down, jumps on top of them, and
no.
savages them.
I'm saying you're saying that he can one punch knock him out. But I'm saying based off of what? Based off of what have we seen?
Based off Verdum getting one punch blasted by running into a shot by Miocic. And it's heavyweight. Anybody can be put down with one shot.
I understand that part of it, but I'm saying every time that Derek Lewis has won, it has been by ground and pound. It's every time.
Yeah, but I don't like the argument just because that's what's happened before. It doesn't preclude it from happening this time.
But I also have and I know we don't use the kind of strength of schedule argument, right? We try to get away from that, but sometimes it's very relevant. And you are looking at a fighter here where I think it is incredibly relevant. You
also have a 40-year-old fighter.
Sure. That is the only place that Derek Lewis really has an advantage here. Okay, he just got beat by Mark Hunt. How old is Mark Hunt?
Probably about 40. I don't know.
Exactly. No, I believe he's exactly 40. So exactly. Okay. So before Mark Hunt, who just beat him, okay, he beat Travis Brown, where he was in extreme danger in that first round. He's fighting any other heavyweight. He loses that fight because he was fighting Travis Brown, who has the worst ring IQ that we have possibly ever seen in the upper levels of the UFC. He was able to win the fight, okay?
I'm glad you clarified that because I was going to yell Chase Sherman.
Yeah, at upper levels, okay? Moving down, Shamil. Shamil has a tendency to make fights look really ugly. He was losing that fight, and it wasn't even close until he got the ground and pound. He clearly lost the first 3 rounds. He was clearly losing the 4th round until he got on top. That was against Shamil. Okay, Roy Nelson fight. A lot of people say he lost that fight. I'm kind of one of those people that thinks it was at least was very, very close. It was a split decision victory.
It was close.
And it was very close on paper. Roy Nelson's not even in the UFC anymore. Gabriel Gonzaga. Need I say more? Moving on down to Grabowski. Need I say more? Victor Pesta. That's probably the best win of it. Okay, lost to Sean Jordan before that. Beat Ruin Potts. Beat Ruin Potts, who never even won a fight in the UFC. Jack May never won a fight in the UFC. We're going back really far. But
go down Verdum's history, though, because outside of one fight, it ain't that good.
It's certainly better than Derek Lewis. And hold on, let's get over to Tony. We're leaving Tony in the dust. Tony, are you still here, buddy?
Yeah, I'm enjoying listening to you guys argue about strength of schedule.
I'm not even trying.
But listen, he has fought Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez is better than any fighter that Derek Lewis has ever fought.
That's the one, and I'll give it to you.
Well, there you go. But that already right there, it's not that Derek Lewis has a weaker strength of schedule. It's that he almost has no strength of schedule.
But throw that out. We're analyzing the fight in terms of what's going to happen here, and I think Verdum tries to exchange with him like a moron. Now, if he doesn't, He'll be fine. I still don't think this fight's lasting 2.5 rounds.
The way that Verdum loses is hubris. If he's able to get past hubris, I think he's fine. But you're right. The way he loses is he comes in there and he gets stupid like he looked against Stipe. But holy shit, Stipe and Derek Lewis are on different planets when it comes to just...
Now when it comes to power, though.
Exactly. The power. If Lewis hits him once and that chin, the 40-year-old chin is done at heavyweight, it's not the most outrageous thing to think it's gone. Plus, he lost a majority decision to Alistair Overeem last time out, where Overeem landed 21 strikes.
Yeah.
21, and you lost the fight to that guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
I just don't think it's a lock, so I like the lean. And like I said, I'm not betting it. Make that clear. I'm
locked in, baby. I'm locked in.
No,
I'm locked in. Lock 'em, load 'em. Lock 'em, load 'em. Get a second mortgage on your house and bet that bad boy in Verdum.
Do you want to take the over against me?
No, because I think that there's a real possibility that Derek Lewis could get finished in the first round.
That wouldn't shock me, and I'd still win 2.5 units. So cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think Travis Brown is and let me say this real clear for the people in the back of the room. Travis Brown is a moron, and he almost finished Derek Lewis. Not only is he a moron, he's an awful MMA fighter. So
you be nice to Mr. Ronda.
That's all right. Tony, we keep leaving you in the dust.
I was expecting to talk like 5 minutes ago.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I don't know if Sean Meyer, you guys already might have talked about this, but speaking of stupid, I wouldn't call Verdum stupid, but his fight IQ is certainly very bad. We saw that in his last fight. We've seen it throughout his career, and I hate betting on guys that have bad fight IQs like that. I'm not picking anyone in this fight. I'm not betting on anyone. There's a lot of question marks here.
Give us a lean. Who you leaning?
I would lean towards Derek Lewis, though, if I was going to lean somewhere. I would lean towards Derek Lewis just because
you're both wrong.
The power, like Sean talked about, and because Verdum's not going to be able to use his jiu-jitsu. When is he going to be able to use his jiu-jitsu? I just don't see that being able to come up, unless he starts pulling guard. I mean, he might start pulling guard and doing dumb things. Like
how can you pull guard? How could you wrap your legs around that fucking tree? Like, could you do that?
I just don't see jiu-jitsu coming into play at all in this one. I think it's going to be a stand-up battle. I think maybe Sean might have said that. I wasn't on the call at the time.
No.
I paraphrase that.
I think it's going to be I think you're going to see just stand-up. These guys pretty much neutralize each other as far as the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling goes. And I would give the slight lean towards Derek Lewis when it comes to striking. Even though Verdum has improved like insanely since his Strikeforce days, I don't see it.
Well, my point when I was talking about Verdum's jiu-jitsu was actually a point for Derek Lewis, which is, having the strength in jiu-jitsu doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot if the guy who on top of you is a beached whale, and and the other thing being, your jiu-jitsu doesn't really matter when someone's digging their elbows into your eye sockets. Like that type of stuff kind of goes out the window. However, I'm also concerned about Derek Lewis changing his diet, changing some of his camp here, changing some of his approach. I don't like that. I think that's worse. You're like trying to maybe overcorrect or. I don't know. Had I really felt that he looked good in his fights, he never looks good, and he's able to be
fair, don't you think he kind of needed a change?
Yes.
I don't know, maybe. I mean, I always get concerned when fighters change stuff, even if it's a perceived positive.
He got in the mic and talked about pooing.
Sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, Jeremy Stevens recently left Alliance and is training at, like, I don't even know how many different gyms now, and he looks better than ever.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Johnson Borg, where I know we're all on the same page on Johnson Borg. Borg clearly wins this fight. You know, we're all on the same page, right?
Wait, what? Back up.
I just want to make sure. I want to make sure we were all on the same page that Borg clearly wins this fight. DJ who, and let's move on to the main event here. All right. Does anyone have an argument for Ray Borg winning? I mean, I could probably think of one, but
no. But I have something I desperately want to. I'm going to try not to yell because I was so mad that this bet got canceled last time, and I'm happy to report it's not as good of a value as it was. But Demetrius Johnson to win inside the distance, well, right now it's moved up a little bit. It's minus 155. I got it at minus 140, and I max bet it.
Oh, wow.
DJ inside the distance. So he better finish. I think he will. I think he squashes Borg. It's too much too soon. Dude keeps missing weight. Just fired his nutritionist. I don't know if he's going to make weight.
Well, you need to be careful though, because Ray Borg is Tony's favorite fighter. So I don't want to upset him. He is on the phone right now. So Tony, I'm really sorry about the things that Sean is saying.
Yes, I am leader of the Ray Borg fan club.
Yeah, he has a Facebook page.
Yes, it's true.
Tasmanian Tony.
I'm betting my whole life savings on him in this fight. I think he's going to knock out Demetrius Johnson in the first round.
He's going to
13 seconds.
He's going to sub him. I think so. The only argument for Borg really is that. First of all, it's MMA. That's probably your most legitimate argument for Ray Borg, right? Is that it's MMA, so anything can happen. Your second legitimate argument for Ray Borg would probably just be Johnson has shown especially obviously against Tim Elliott, has shown that he can get into some trouble, and Ray Borg, for all of his faults. Poses a threat, especially on the ground. So
he's a good scrambler. He's shown he's a good scrambler.
He'll also be heavier.
DJ has lost a couple scrambles, which they're scrambles. It happens in MMA.
Sure.
Borg has showed the penchant. He can win a scramble and hit a sub. That's the only thing you could say.
I will say I really like Sean's prop for the inside the distance, because I think a lot of people, and maybe even the people setting the betting lines, are thinking, Demetrius Johnson, decisions, but he's finished 15 of his 26 wins have been by finishes. He's not a decision machine like people think he is.
I can't remember who put this out there, and I think I mentioned it the last time we talked about this fight, and I want to give credit where it's due, but I can't remember. This wasn't me who dug up this stat. I'll stop trying to remember. It's DJ has more title defense finishes than John Jones did during his reign.
Wow.
Or his win streak. DJ finished more than John Jones.
Well, Jackson Wink version of John Jones was almost a decision. He went through a period where he was just decision after decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Ferguson Lee. This is another fight where Sean and I disagree, so I will start with Tony.
But you're the insane person here. I may have been insane on Derek Lewis. You're insane here.
I don't feel super passionate about it, but I still feel like my person gets the victory. So let's introduce the fight. Tony Ferguson is taking on Kevin Lee. This is for the very, very coveted interim belt. We love our interim belts. So Kevin Lee, Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, I believe, is number 2. Kevin Lee, I believe, is number 7. Both of these guys have strung together a series of consecutive victories here. All right, I am picking Kevin Lee. I will not go into too much detail right now. I'm going to let Tony speak, and I'll let Sean speak, and then I will give the reason why I'm leaning Kevin Lee. I have a feeling that Tony is also leaning Tony Ferguson. Am I correct in that assessment, Mr.
You're
Fignano?
actually wrong.
Ooh, yeah, we're both Kevin Lee. Well, shit, I might need to change my pick. I don't know if I should be on the same side as Tony.
Like you, I don't. It's not like a
I don't
passionate
feel,
thing.
but real quick, can I just say one thing, Tony? I feel disgusting about it because I really am not a fan of Kevin Lee, but I just really think he's going to be able to pull this off. Tony, you talk, then Sean, you talk.
I don't have any like feelings about either. I think Tony Ferguson is really. I think both of them are very corny kind of guys.
Yeah.
But I'm not like. It's not like I don't like either of them. I don't really have that many feelings about MMA fighters. But it's just, if you look at Ferguson's and even Khabib's, win streaks, they get talked about a lot. But if you go through them, they're just kind of hollow. I mean, to be fair, Ferguson's last few wins have been very impressive. RDA is kind of on the fence because he was on his way out of the division and he just didn't look like himself at 155 anymore. But nonetheless, very impressive. But he's never faced I guess the closest wrestler type fighter that Ferguson has faced would be Abel Trujillo. And
he got dropped in that fight.
Yes. And I think Kevin Lee is on another level wrestling wise, even though the stats don't really seem to back that up, with his takedowns, only hovering around, I think 40 something percent successful. But I think he's able to get enough, survive on the feet, because I think he's seriously outmatched on the feet, but be able to work in those takedowns and ultimately win a decision here. And then you get a meaningless belt because neither of these guys are going to fight Conor McGregor.
I think I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to go first. I said I was going to let
totally
Sean go
meaningless.
first.
The belt is fucking meaningless.
It is. Oh no! Listen, every interim belt ever is meaningless.
But I think this one especially
is especially meaningless. Sure.
It's like,
there is one interim belt that is the belt. And Robert Whittaker's the champ, and let's fight about it.
Okay, I am going to talk first here just because I want to kind of elaborate on some of the stuff that Tony said. So, again, you talk about advantages here. Tony clearly has the advantage in the striking, and Kevin Lee clearly has the advantage in the wrestling department. To me, this fight is very similar to the next fight we're going to talk about, which is Tom Duquesnoy and Cody Stamann, right? One guy having a clear striking advantage, the other guy having kind of a clear wrestling advantage. It's a little different. It's definitely different, but you know what I mean? It's kind of the same argument that I'm making. Wrestling kind of will just about always counter striking. I mean, that's how this works. It's not the kryptonite, but when you talk about styles make fights, that's kind of what you're talking about. And my big problem with Ferguson, so I have a hard time giving too much credence to the RDA win, especially when he was coming off of the. Let me finish, Sean. I know nobody else could see it. I just looked at Sean's face when I said that, and it was hit a visceral reaction to me saying that. Huge win. He landed 200 punches in Mexico City. That can't be understated. The way that Tony Ferguson wins, his fights is that no matter what you do, he will come out in the 50th round looking the exact same as he did in the first round. That is how Tony Ferguson is able to win fights. He will outlast you, right? And that was on display against RDA. That he just, every round, you go in the 5th round, he looks like he's a fresh fighter. Not fresher, he looked like he was fresh. And that's scary. That is very, very scary. And, I mean, again, 5-round fight in Mexico City, man, holy shit, like, that's a big deal. But let's not forget, RDA was really at the end of his ropes there. I mean, I think he had wound up in the hospital more than once after I think right before this fight when he was starting to cut weight, and during the Eddie Alvarez weight cut as well. So, that win kind of gets a little bit of an asterisk there because of that. Okay, he fights Lando Veneta on very, very short notice, gets dropped. Edson Barboza, I think, is a pretty legitimate win. I don't remember there being anything that really jumped out at me. Josh Thompson, whatever, dude. Like, I know we're going a little far back, but that's still part of this win streak. But 215. Josh Thompson, he kicked the head off of Nate Diaz, and that's basically the only thing he's ever been known for. You go down to T-Bow, he gets another one of those chokes. Abel Trujillo, he gets the choke, lost the first round, got dropped. Right, I'm just going through his entire win streak here. Danny Castillo.
Do it for Lee.
Say it again. I will.
Do that for Lee.
I'll do it for Lee. I'll do it for Lee.
I'll
do it for Lee. Okay, then the beginning of the win streak was a guy named Mike Rio, and then you have Kikuno, and then you have Danny Castillo. Okay, so I'll do the same thing for Lee. Okay. The Chiesa victory, if you want to have an asterisk on it, it's fine. I understand it. I was very upset at that stoppage, as were most people. But at the end of the day, he still had his hands around Chiesa's neck. Maybe Chiesa could have fought his way out of that, but probably not.
He won the fight.
But probably not. So, but I understand why people would put an asterisk around that, okay? He chokes out Trinaldo. I don't remember there
getting
being...
his ass whooped in the first round.
In the first round? Okay. Mustayev.
Got hurt in that fight, too.
Jake Matthews really doesn't mean shit to me. And then Escudero really doesn't mean shit to me. Okay, the big one is obviously getting knocked out by Santos. But that doesn't mean anything in this fight. Ferguson's not knocking him out. That's not happening. If Ferguson wins, it's because he gets behind him in the third round or fourth round and chokes him out.
Disagree.
You think that Ferguson can knock out? I would almost be willing to say this fight does not go to a decision. I'm willing to loudmouth bet you.
Done.
You want a loudmouth bet it doesn't go to a decision?
I think this fight finishes.
Okay. Fuck. Hold on. Can we change the? I forgot that it's a main event, and I'd be a little bit nervous fourth, fifth round. Do you think it happens before the fourth? If you don't think it happens before the fourth, we won't take it. I forgot that it was a main event. I would be a little bit nervous fourth, fifth round, of their getting a finish there. But actually, I think that it'd be Kevin Lee getting it, not Ferguson.
Give me 3.5. Over under 3.5.
Okay, halfway through the fourth round. If halfway through the fourth round the fight is not over, you will do a little Periscope video saying you were wrong.
You got it.
All right,
you got it.
Agreed. And same over here. Do you need me to show you how to use Periscope for your video, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And Tony is really good at these apology videos, so you should reach out to him because he'll walk you through it. Basically,
if I do lose, I'm going to channel Tony and just badmouth people.
That's what you have to do. You gotta channel Tony. You got to start talking about the guy on the grassy knoll, and that's why you couldn't, and that's why this thing happened. And I'm not going to go through the
Bush did 9/11.
Yes, exactly. You just got to do those kind of things. You just got to be like, well, listen, there's a man on the grassy knoll. There's no way that one guy did it. All right. I mean, listen, I'm not saying I'm picking Kevin Lee because I'm like waving a Kevin Lee flag. I think Kevin Lee has the advantage that means more, which is the wrestling advantage. I really think that means more here.
But I don't think he does. If you think back to his takedowns,
well, he clearly has the wrestling advantage. There's no way you can say he doesn't.
He has the advantage because Ferguson doesn't use, but he doesn't have big wrestling. Like, he doesn't shoot blast doubles. He doesn't go for strong single legs. He gets his takedowns up against the cage. And if that was your one worry against RDA too, is RDA going to push him up against the cage and take him down? RDA couldn't do it.
I know, but we already talked about the 155, and I really think that makes a difference here. Come on.
I disagree.
It has to be important. That has to be important.
He was the 155 champ. Oh, okay, we'll get by that. If you go to, I'm looking at
go through Edson Barboza.
Right now.
Edson Barboza is the most legitimate victory that Ferguson had. I mean, that was the most legitimate one, I think.
The most legit one Kevin Lee has is Michael Chiesa. That's not that great to me. And you got Trinaldo when he was hurt. He gets hurt in all these fights. He's been hurt in numerous. That's why I think it's going to be
So does Ferguson. Ferguson gets hurt in umpteen fights too.
Venata, though. That's how does that happen?
Lee is not going to hurt Ferguson with a stand-up. He's just not. The way you're right is if he gets the fight to the ground. I just don't think he does, and I think he's so outclassed on the feet.
I think he chokes. I think he chokes him out. I think
just trying to close the distance, he's going to run into something nasty trying to close the distance, or Ferguson's going to keep it at space, pick him apart. Lee's shown he can be hurt. He'll swarm and he'll finish. I have 3 units on Tony Ferguson at minus 200. I think it's pretty
My
the,
other
the,
problem,
the skill disparity is huge.
What? In what way? I disagree. Skill
On the
disparity
feet.
wise.
On the feet, he's just Ferguson is loads better than Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee is not that great on the feet. He uses his range, and Ferguson can keep the same type of range. It's going to be a problem. I think when these guys start standing and trading,
I'm disagreeing with the notion. I was disagreeing that the notion of there being this massive skill disparity. I think that's false.
I think there is.
I think that's false. I disagree with that.
I just can't wait for the winner's reaction when McGregor faces Nate Diaz next.
Oh God! Both these guys, you know where there's not a big a big disparity in the level of douche they are. They're both just douches.
They are both turds. They're both turds,
and they both dress like idiots.
Well, they're both trying to be Conor McGregor, and just both. It's not legitimate.
Did you see Kevin Lee? Not Kevin Lee. Ferguson in that argument with Verdum.
Exactly.
He's getting the guy who doesn't speak your language.
I love how he told him. He goes. Ferguson telling Verdum. He goes, I'll ankle pick you right now. Just love that. He goes, I will ankle pick you right now.
I have to give the advantage to Kevin Lee though for that "go fuck yourself" headband.
Yeah, the headband. Yeah.
Yep.
I actually like that. I want to know where to pick one of those up.
The better shit talker is Kevin Lee.
Oh God, I don't. Neither. Is there an option C that just says neither?
If you get somebody to cry about their mom, you win.
That is funny. That is true.
Oh, that's true. I totally forgot about Chiesa.
He did that with Chiesa. Yeah.
Fuck about my mom.
My other thing with Tony is that I'm also concerned that when you have the kitchen sink approach to fighting, I'm worried that when you start getting these upper echelons and these upper levels, and Kevin Lee is the upper level here. I mean, this is I would say the hardest fight that he's. Again, Barboza is the close one here, but I still give the advantage to Kevin Lee here. So, this is the toughest fight that Ferguson's had, and I don't know. And you know what I mean by kitchen sink approach. I guess for those of you who don't know what I mean, Ferguson is one of those kind of throwing everything all at once at you, everything but the kitchen sink.
I
can't believe you think Kevin Lee. I can't believe you think Kevin Lee is his stiffest test. What is
the other one?
Well, it's also Josh Thompson, by the way. I think smokes pretty much everyone on Kevin Lee's win streak.
I think.
Are we talking about the guy that got knocked out by Pitbull?
Yeah, I think Chiesa beats him. I think Trinaldo probably beats him. I don't think so. Mustayev beats him. I think Jake Matthews might give him a run for his money. Josh Thompson is probably one of the more overrated guys because he fucking head kicked Nate Diaz and then just.
He's an excellent kickboxer. Very good.
That was just funny.
Yeah, I mean. But anyway, I just that kitchen sink thing.
The age, by the way, we're talking Thompson and his guys.
Can we also talk about 30s. The fact we also haven't mentioned this real quick? And I'm sorry, but Kevin Lee is 24.
Yeah, too much too soon.
He is 24. Ferguson's what? 30.
He looks like he's 45.
He does look like he's 45. Ferguson's 33. Ferguson's 33.
I just want one of these guys to get finished. I hate them both. I'm taking Ferguson for the money, but
Tony Ferguson is 6 foot, 76-inch reach. Kevin Lee is 5'9" with a 76-inch reach. Which is interesting there. Kevin Lee is used to being the longer fighter. He is not here. I mean, they're pretty much the same.
I don't know that Tony Ferguson has a wrestling background. I actually didn't know this.
Oh, but that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
He's also apparently a brown belt in BJJ, just in case Kevin Lee does get it down.
I would still give Kevin Lee clear the advantage there as well.
So would I still. Yeah. It might not be as hopeless as I thought.
Like I said, and just to finish this thought and wrap up on it from my end, and then you guys can obviously say some more too. But from my end, I was talking about the kitchen sink thing. Just that approach of that Ferguson has, which is he's just going to throw everything. There's no rhyme, no reason to it. He just kind of gets in there and just starts throwing shit. And I don't think that that's going to work when you start getting to this level. By the way, everybody we've talked about here, going through these win records and all this shit, I think all of them lose to Conor McGregor. So there you go. Tony, anything else you want to say on this fight before we move on to the prelims?
Fuck Conor McGregor.
Ferguson, if that fight were to happen, if Conor McGregor does fight the winner of this fight, I like how it's for an interim belt, and we're saying if he fights them. I love that. I think it's great. If Conor McGregor were to fight these two people, can I make my real quick prediction? Okay, so we have to.
13 seconds.
We got to leave a little bit of space, so that way we'll pretend like I didn't set this up. If I get this right, we'll just play this clip and tell everyone that I didn't. I'll just go back in the episode and delete what I'm saying right this very moment. I think Conor McGregor goes into the cage after this fight. And that's when they announce that he's fighting the winner. That's it. Yeah. That's my prediction.
I don't even think he'll be at this event.
I don't think anything like that happens either, but I want to cover my bases just in case it does, so that way I can tell everybody that I called it.
I'm pretty sure he's
partying, Kevin Lee looks
doing cocaine with soccer stars or something. I don't think
if that happens, then I hope Kevin Lee actually. I'll give my 3 units if Kevin Lee, if that's going to happen. Kevin Lee wins, and the second he gets in there, Kevin Lee just starts ranting about McGregor's mom. then you could have my 3 units, and I'll be happy.
Who Jeremy Stevens slept with, apparently.
Yeah, like maybe. A year later.
Maybe.
But by the way, some breaking news. I think did you guys see, breaking to me anyway, I just saw on Twitter that Carlos Condit just got a fight.
Oh, wow. Who?
Magny.
What?
UFC 219, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost New Year's Eve.
Interesting. Why does the UFC like Neil Magny so much? We're getting off topic.
Give me Carlos Condit. Right, Give me Condit.
Let's move on to this card. Okay. Tom Duquesnoy taking on Cody Stamann. I'm going to kind of come up with a similar argument here. I think Tom Duquesnoy has the clear striking advantage. I think Cody Stamann has the clear wrestling advantage. More so, though, Cody Stamann is a prolific wrestler. I think Tom Duquesnoy is an incredible prospect. I fucking hate that these two people are fighting each other. Like,
I love it.
I hate it. Why? Just let them build up, man. Like, let Duquesnoy fight a couple dudes. Let Stamann fight a couple dudes. Like, you could have these guys meet and fucking headline a Fox card in a year. Like, just why? I don't know. I totally disagree. I really don't like because you're not killing a prospect. Listen, if Tom Duquesnoy loses to Cody Stamann like I think he's going to, Tom Duquesnoy is fine. He's 15-2, and I think he beats most people at 135. I just think that styles make fights here, and boy, this is not a great stylistic matchup for him. You know,
Duquesnoy's the favorite, by the way.
Oh yeah, of course he is. No, and it probably should be. I think he is the better fighter, right? If you're looking at it through that lens, right? Like, who's the better fighter? It's probably Tom Duquesnoy. But again, man, just a horrible stylistic matchup. And Cody Stamann, I mean, that wrestling that he showed was just intense, especially for that division. I don't know if anyone can rival it. So, I mean, until you get up to like guys like Garbrandt, I mean, I really don't think that there's anything there. So, I think Cody Stamann wins this fight, and I think Tom Duquesnoy goes on to, to be a contender. I mean, I think that he's a great fighter, but I just think that this is not a great fight for him to take right now. Tony, we'll start with you. What do you think?
I have to agree with you, Kyle. I think it's really bad matchmaking. I just don't understand.
I really don't like that we're agreeing so much. That bothers me.
The what?
It bothers me that we're agreeing so much.
Just prove that I'm the voice of reason.
Weird. It's just I don't understand. I mean, what is the? I mean, Cody Stamann is a very he has a lot of talent. And, he could definitely be a star, but he's not the most exciting guy as of right now. And you matching him up against someone who is very exciting, who has also a lot of potential. And I just don't get it. I think, like you said, Tom is going to lose this fight. And I don't I don't know. I'm
just for
I'm
no
kind of
reason.
flummoxed.
It's just like he's going to lose the fight for no like, you know what I mean? When I say that for no reason, like, it's just why? Like Tom Duquesnoy versus like, give me some names at 135.
It's fun.
You should not be
It's
fighting
fun.
him in his
It's
second
a fun fight.
He has all the potential in the
I
world.
don't. Why would it be a fun fight, really? Because Cody Stammen's probably going to take Duquesnoy down 10 times and lay on top of him. It's going to look like a Colby Covington fight. A Colby Covington fight's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call that fun.
This fight could be on the main card to me. I'm looking forward to this fight because
I'm
I like
looking
both
forward
these
to it as
prospects.
well because I really like Stammen, and I want to see what he's going to prosper into. I would rather see Cody Stammen fight a guy who we're not trying to build up. I would rather see that fight.
It makes me so nervous that all three of us are picking the underdog.
Right?
I'm also on Cody Stammen.
All in, baby. All in.
I don't know if I feel good about this at all. But I did mention it right when we were chatting before we started. I'm going to be really nervous for the first 2.5 minutes because Duquesnoy has got some electric stand-up, lands elbows from everywhere. Like, Stammen needs to get this fight to the ground quickly and take some of this thing out of those punches. I think he does it. Again, you already used the cliche styles make fights. I think it's true, but I'll be sweating for a little bit.
It's because I'm trying to learn. It's one of those I have been really bad about the styles make fights thing. So I've just been recently trying to remind myself that like you really have to focus on that you can't go through this. Yeah, but they fought the same guy, and look what he did, and that kind of MMA math thing that people get caught up in. And I am notoriously bad about doing that. So I'm just trying to realize that. Tony left again. We'll try to get him back on. God damn, his thing is a nightmare. Yeah, he's left. Poor Tony, man, just cannot get his system to work. But I've just been
under -1,000.
Wow, Jesus!
On one site, someone just bet a ton on board.
That's nuts.
Sports. Let me find it here. If you have any accounts on, I think it's Sports International. If you want to go get DJ for under -1,000.
Tony's
go
back.
Ahead.
Tony's back, by the way. Hello, Tony. Your system, Tony, is a nightmare. He just keeps coming up. If you're talking, we can't hear you, by the way. But what was I starting to say? Oh yeah, I'm notoriously bad about the MMA math way of thinking, and I know I've even done that a little bit here too, because you do have to go through people's records and compare stuff. I mean, it's not like that's wrong, but you have to be able to see that whole, problems or styles make fights thing. You have to be able to look at it and go, okay, this is just a bad stylistic matchup. And even if you think the other guy's better, it doesn't mean that they're going to win, right? So it's like the methodology is more important than you know what I'm saying. I don't need to keep overstating it. All right, let's move on down. Will Brooks taking on Nick Lentz. Nick Lentz is a piece of human filth. If you like that person, fuck you. Nick Lentz is trash. I would not pick him out of principle, but thankfully he's not a UFC fighter. So Will Brooks wins this fight. He wins it easily. Let's move on to Sean.
Breaking news, next guest in the DFS Express.
Nick Lentz!
No, I also have Will Brooks. My one concern is he's looked bad, and he came over from Bellator, supposed to be like the next big thing.
I know.
You have to give him a pass in the Oliveira fight because he broke a rib in the fight.
Yeah.
But he has not looked good. But
the fact that he allowed his rib to get broken is a bad sign.
Yeah. Nick Lentz is he's not very good.
He's a trash person?
I don't even want to talk about Nick Lentz anymore because it's just going to get uncomfortable.
He's a trash person with a trash MMA style and trash
a
fights.
Garbage human being.
He's a garbage person.
You need to say garbage human being because garbage person, very nice gentleman who stops on their house twice a week, takes away all my filth.
If you call them a garbage person, they will throw trash at you. Do not call them garbage people.
What do they prefer? A sanitation specialist?
I don't know. Not garbage person. I know that much. Tony, do you have an opinion on Will Brooks versus garbage?
Will Brooks. He obviously not what all of us were expecting when he came over from Bellator.
Agreed.
But still a very good fighter. And I think he easily wins this fight here. And hopefully Nick Lentz gets his walking papers after this. So I don't have to.
Then he can be a garbage man. Kill me.
Guys, but I will say that Nick Lentz did beat Manny Gamburin in 2014, so we probably shouldn't be judging him.
Pearl Gonzalez versus Paulina Botello.
And he was able to beat Danny Castillo by split decision in 2015, so I don't know why I'm questioning him. All right, let's move on down. Lando Veneta taking on Bobby Green. This is a great fight. This is probably one of my more favorite fights on the card.
No, not mine. I hate Veneta.
I love Veneta.
I really do.
I love him. I think he's wonderful. I think David Tamer. Again, I love it. Styles make fights. And one of the things I learned from watching that Lando Veneta-David Tamer fight is, boy, if you got two strikers who are only going to strike and one guy's better, that's probably the person that's going to win. So as simple as that sounds, I think a lot of people picked Veneta. I was definitely one of those people. But there was a pretty easy line of logic that should have led you away from that. In hindsight being what it is.
I thought it was crazy.
And it was a lot of fun, and I just think Lando Veneta is a super talented dude. I understand he's been overhyped. I completely get it. He dropped Tony Ferguson in a fight when Tony Ferguson was on a pretty impressive win streak that are impressive in the eyes of how people talk about it. We've already gone through the win streak. It has some holes.
No,
he dropped him once, and
he hurt him. I guess
he should have finished him. I mean, he didn't just drop him, and he really had him on the edge of death there. I mean, he just wasn't able to finish it.
I don't think Veneta's bad, by the way. I don't like him as a person.
But I think that as a person. What did he do to you?
He just comes off as a douche. He's one of those guys that just rubs me the wrong way. I won't go that far because Nick Lentz really is trash, but he's just one of those guys who just rubs me the wrong way. Fortunately for me, he's fighting Bobby Green, who at least makes me laugh. He's an idiot, but he makes me laugh.
Yeah. I love that you just called Nick Lentz trash, by the way. Tony, you're the only person that hasn't said that Nick Lentz is trash. Can you please join in?
I said he was garbage.
Thank you. Okay.
Not a synonym?
I thought you were repeating me and not saying it on your own volition.
Oh, no, I hate the guy. I can't fucking stand him.
Awesome. Okay.
But by the way, going back to this fight, if you want to see one of the funniest things you've ever seen, at least from me, this made me laugh so hard. I rewatched it. I watched the tape on this fight, and it still made me laugh. Go watch Dustin Poirier and Bobby Green. You can watch someone talk shit in the cage and instantaneously get knocked the fuck out.
I know. I mean, that's
who Bobby Green is. It's just funny.
Yeah, if you're looking at Bobby Green, boy. I mean, he's 3 straight losses here. His last victory going against Sean's favorite fighter, a man that he would die. He would take a bullet for, Josh Thompson, whose only achievement was not head kicking Nate Diaz. He has tons of achievements, and Sean really loves that guy.
You're killing me.
So that was his last
against Rashid Magomedov.
That was his last victory. He won a split decision against the ghost of a fighter that was never that good anyway, and then went on to lose 3 straight fights. I have really struggled to see how in the world Bobby Green's going to win this fight.
You can't just say you have to consistently use resume.
I know.
We just lost 3 straight fights. You're glossing over that it was Edson Barbosa,
Dustin
Bobby
Poirier,
Green,
and
Magomedov.
And he looked really good against Magomedov. He really did. Bobby Green looked fantastic against Rashad Magomedov.
But I think it's just close because he's a more polished striker. It should be fun. They're going to stand and trade, and I think the difference in this fight are the kicks of Veneta. I don't think he's going to John McDessie him, but I think the kicks will end up being the deciding factor in this one.
Yeah. Tony?
Is this the one that leads into the main card, or am I way off?
No, you're way off.
Okay. Well, it should be. It's one of those. Or where is it on the card? I guess.
This is according to UFC.com. We've been going backwards. So Tom Duquesnoy kicked off is the headliner of the prelims. And
God, the prelims are good.
The prelims are really good.
The FX prelims are great.
For as much shit as I talked about the matchmaking and the Stamen fight, I really like it here. Excellent matchmaking. This should be an amazing fight. And I give the slight edge to Venata, but it's very close. I mean, I could totally see Bobby Green, being able to, win this fight here.
Yeah.
And I don't have much else to add.
I think the fight's closer than I implied. I was being humorous when I was going through his record there and talking shit. I think the fight is closer than I was implying, but I do think that Veneto gets the win here. Just to clarify.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. The first fight on the FX prelims here is Pearl Gonzalez taking on someone who I really, again, I apologize, guys. And I also feel super sexist because the two fights I knew really nothing about were the two women fights. That makes me kind of feel like an asshole.
I know something about one of these fighters, but
I do. Yeah, Pearl Gonzalez. Hopefully, we'll be able to fight. Obviously, we do know she has implants, famously. So hopefully that won't become an issue again. No, I would go Pearl Gonzalez here. You know, we learned that Cynthia Calvillo is a very, very good fighter. And someone who potentially is going to really start fighting top-level competition here, and I think can beat quite a few of them. And Pearl Gonzalez looked really good against her. I mean, she wound up getting finished, but I think she looked pretty good against her. And that's the only fight we have in the UFC. You have Botello, I believe is her name, Botello, who is making her UFC debut, correct? I'm pretty sure. Making her UFC debut. She's 5-1. She hasn't beat anyone of note. She has fought Viviana Pereira. She lost to her, but that is someone who's in the UFC now, so that would probably be one of her more important fights. Pereira would go on to put together 2 wins in the UFC, Valerie Letourneau and Jamie Moyle. So there you go. I mean, I guess again she lost to her though. She didn't beat her, but she did fight her. And I don't know who the other women are, to be honest with you. I have no idea who they are. She fought most of her fights, certainly her last 3, in XFC, which I believe is a Brazilian promotion. It's a Brazilian promotion, San Paulo. So I don't know. I know nothing about her really. So someone would have to enlighten me. Sean,
I'm going to take issue with. I like Pearl Gonzalez. I think, you were saying you want to look into styles, make fights. I think this is a perfect example where I'd be careful here because what I've seen of Botello is she's super aggressive.
Okay.
Aggressive striker. And Pearl Gonzalez, she held her own on the ground against Calvillo, who's also a ground specialist. That was impressive. But she was getting lit up on the feet a little bit. And Calvillo's striking ain't that good. From what I can tell, Botello's striking is better than Calvillo's, and that could present a real problem for Pearl Gonzalez. It's hard to see because you haven't really seen her. I couldn't find I didn't find the Vivian Pereira fight, which I'd be interested to get my hands on because it's the highest level competition she's faced. But from what I've just the aggression and backing, I think she's going to back Pearl up, and that's where there's going to be problems. Where I don't know if Pearl can implement her game. If the fight goes to the ground, it's hard because you would assume Pearl has the advantage, but I haven't seen Botello on the ground off her back. I don't know for sure. I just think in terms of the stand-up, I think she has the advantage, and that's where this fight's going to start. So I'm leaning Botello, but it's not obviously super educated. But from what I can tell, I think stylistically it could be a problem for Pearl.
Tony, did Sean, I assume, do an article on her as well?
Actually, he didn't on this one, but he was talking about it, and he said the same thing that Sean here said, that she was very aggressive, pressure kind of striker. I would have to lean towards Pearl Gonzalez getting the sub here. I know fights start on the feet, but she has a habit of taking them to the ground.
Yep.
And she actually has a submission win over Courtney Casey, who's gone on to have quite a few UFC fights now. as well as, obviously we just saw her hold her own against Cynthia Calvillo, who was very accomplished on the ground.
Yeah. I, again, find myself agreeing with Tony.
It's great, isn't it? Right?
Oh, God.
I'm going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I was like, you're lining up against Tony and I, who are agreeing. So that means that, Tony, don't bet very much of this card, man, because we're wrong. I'm just letting you know we are wrong. So I'm pretty sure.
Or I'm going to lose a bunch on DraftKings.
Yeah. All right, let's move on down to the Fight Pass prelims. We're going a little bit long, so let's try to speed on through these. Walt Harris taking on Mark Godbeer. I am pretty heavy on Walt Harris here. Walt Harris has been training with Deontay Wilder on his boxing, and Mark Godbeer has pretty adamantly said he's going to be boxing in this fight. He got subbed out. He got subbed out by Justin Ledet. That's a very bad sign. I love Ledet, but he shouldn't be subbing you out. Yeah, I think this is clearly Walt Harris, and I really struggle to find a reason not to. I mean, Walt Harris has shown he doesn't have the greatest chin in the world, so I mean, that's really the only thing that can happen here is it's heavyweight, and in heavyweight fights, people get knocked out, But other than that, I really struggle to see how Walt Harris could lose this fight. Tony, do you have an opinion on this one?
I don't have an opinion on this one at all.
Okay.
No.
I thought
we were trying. I would. I mean, I have some things, but let's just speed it along, and I'll just pass on this one.
Okay. I've followed both of these fighters pretty closely. I've done a lot of research into them. Again, I've been a big fan of Justin Ledet for a while. I have a sneaking suspicion that Walt Harris is going to be fighting Justin Ledet probably next, especially if he gets a win here. So, and both of these guys, yeah, I just have I've seen both of these guys tape. One of the few fighters that I've really seen like all of their stuff because there isn't that much of it. And I just think Walt Harris is the way better fighter here, honestly. Certainly the better boxer, and it's not even close.
Walt Harris is going to win, probably get a finish. And if those two guys fight, let's just put them in boxing gloves.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even
Agreed.
Ledet and Harris fight. It's not an MMA fight.
It's
a boxing fight.
Yeah. All right, John Moraga taking on Magomed Bibliatov. I'm going to go Bibliatov here, and again, I don't not questioning it. I think this is pretty clear cut. Bibliatov didn't necessarily look how I think everybody thought in his first fight, but he still clearly won it.
You weren't impressed?
I think I was, but I think it was another the expectations versus reality kind of thing. Like, I mean, we were talking about this guy being the fucking second coming, and I don't think it was that, but it's also your first fight. It was also fighting against a guy who was really staying at range and really, I think, almost knew he wasn't going to win, so therefore wasn't necessarily trying to win and was just trying to make the fight really ugly to just make himself not look bad. You know what I mean? Which I guess kind of where I'm at with it, so maybe that's why it looked that way. But anyway, he clearly, I think, wins this fight, and I'm not questioning it. Does anyone have a dissenting opinion?
I'm still all aboard the Bibliatov hype train.
Me too.
Next big thing, he's gonna beat the Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. He's gonna beat him handedly.
Woo!
He's gonna Showtime kick him into oblivion, and that's my take on it. Totally reasonable take.
Can he beat Ray Borg, Tony?
Can he beat Ray Borg? The next champion, I know.
Yeah, Sean, do you have an opinion?
Bibliatov might be the next champ when DJ goes to 35.
Yeah, there you go. I agree with that assessment. Talis Ladies taking on Brad Tavares. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Brad Tavares gets it done here. I think he gets it done here. I know that I have a dissenting opinion here. Smart
You're
money.
On the favorite.
Listen,
you're on the favorite.
Tavares is the favorite?
Minus 200. I got Talis Ladies at plus 1. I got Talis Ladies at plus 170. Thank you.
Okay, bet Talis Ladies at plus 170. You kidding me? That doesn't make any sense. Disagree. I'm going to disagree with those odds. This should be a pick'em. But I was about to say I know that I'm the dissenting opinion here, but I just think Brad Tavares gets it done here, man.
How?
Let me think of a well-crafted answer, and I'll get back to you in just a moment. Tony, I assume you're going ladies?
Of course. Yeah, of course. And hop all over that plus 170
Yes,
line.
of course.
Jesus Christ. What is going on? You said plus 170, right? I didn't mishear
I did.
that?
No,
Okay,
plus
that's
170
insane.
on 5 dimes. You can get
Yeah,
it all
you
the way
wanna-
at plus 174 on Sportbet.
You want to go and put at least like 2 units on that. That's insane. For sure. Take that. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. I just think it should be more of a close fight than that. Basically, I'm not totally counting out Brad Tavares, but that's just a little ridiculous to me.
Okay, so I think, ladies, here, in order to get the win here, I think he has to get takedowns, and I don't think that he's going to be able to get them. So
Theodora took down Tavares 3 times.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, I'm talking about Talus Ladies. I don't think Talus Ladies is going to get the takedowns here. I think that, listen, part of why a guy like, oh my God, Pert Plus, why his name's escaping me now. Theodoro. I'll just call him Pert Plus. The reason why a guy like Pert Plus is able to get takedowns like that is because he is possibly the most awkward fighter in like UFC history. So all
How
of a
about
sudden,
this one?
when
Bubba McDaniel took down Brad Tavares in 2013
that's it.
and got 3 passes on the ground.
That's really bad. That hurts my soul. But pretty much the only guys that Ladies was ever able to take down was Chris Camozzi, which that means nothing.
Stiff wind could take down that dude.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of how I feel about Matt. The first fight on the card. I was going to talk about Matt Schnell. I'll tip my cap a little early here. I'm a little concerned that if the cut man puts the Vaseline on Schnell's eyes too hard, his knees are going to buckle. So that would be my fear with that fight. So yeah, a stiff breeze is taking Chris Camozzi down. So getting 5 takedowns really doesn't mean anything to me. But for the most part, other than some outliers, Brad Tavares, I don't think is going to be able to get really taken down by Ladies here, which means what you're going to see, I think, is a low volume kickboxing fight. I think that's kind of what you're going to see. And if that's the case, personally, I'm going to lean Tavares here. So I really, that's all that it comes down to me. At the end of the day, I think it's just going to wind up being an on-the-feet, low-volume fight, and I think that's the type of fight that Brad Tavares can win.
I would agree with that's probably how this fight's going to go in terms of a low-volume kickboxing fight. That's probably the route. I actually think I might give the edge there to Ladies.
Sure.
He basically, with one leg kick in the first 5 seconds, crippled Sam Alvey for the rest of that fight. That was rough to watch. Like, Sam Alvey, within 5 seconds, the fight was over. Like, and he toughed it out. By the way, Ladies got a takedown in that fight. Ladies, I mean, he got smashed by Jucko, but he got a takedown in that fight. Where else was he? He took down Michael Bisping. He took down Tim Bocht. He took down Ed Herman 3 times. Took down Tom Watson. Now I'm on no-name guys, but he took down Tom Watson 5 times. Like, he can have a takedown, so I think it's probably going to be a low-volume kickboxing fight. I would personally lean Ladies. Plus, if there is going to be a takedown, I don't think Tavares is going to want to take down Ladies because of the BJJ game. So if there is going to be any grappling, I would give that advantage to Ladies. So those 2 things, add in plus 170 and a good DraftKings price. Ladies is my play and pick pretty much everywhere.
I just hope that those odds get back to what they should be, and the DraftKings prices
where it opened,
and the DraftKings prices reflect where it is now, because a bunch of people are going to go Ladies, who's going to score 45 points in a decision victory. So
it opened, by the way, at plus 145.
Yeah. So, but that's what that's what I'm saying. Like, if you make the DraftKings odds based off of now, and Ladies gets up to where he should be, which is a pick'em or maybe like a slight favorite, DraftKings is going to be just all over Ladies. You're going to see like 80% ownership in some of these things, and I think that's a big mistake because I think Ladies I think if he scores 50 points in a decision, I think people are going to be lucky. And I think he's going to sink some teams.
Never forget the ladies went 5 rounds with Anderson Silva.
Never forget.
Never forget.
He has the oddest. His career is one of the weirdest ones in like UFC history because
went 5 rounds with Anderson Silva, landing 10 strikes and a takedown.
And then he loses a prelim fight, his very next fight, and then he's out of the UFC. He fights like 2 kind of like bigger names and some Canadian promotion, and Dean Lister and Jesse Taylor.
Then goes back and it goes on a 5-fight win streak.
And then he comes
Taylor.
back in 2013 and goes on this win streak.
Watson, Herman, Trevor Smith, Francis Carmont, and then Tim Boach.
Yeah,
that is just a very weird. I actually trained under Dean Lister too, and I know that loss did not sit well with him.
Yeah.
By the way, you're not going to get a great price on Talis Ladies. I thought it was better than it is. $7,900.
Oh yeah,
it's closer
that's what it should be.
That's about what it should be. I'm still going to play him. And by the way, if you want all my DraftKings picks, listen to the DFS Express here on Loudmouth MMA.
There it is, baby.
And possibly MMA Today, Tony.
We do have a draft. It is on the website. If you go to the website, there is a DraftKings tab at the top now.
And we will put that on there.
There's also a podcast tab, which is where you will find this.
Yes, sir.
Once Kyle figures out basic WordPress.
Thanks, Tony.
How do I post my video, Tone? We'll talk later.
We'll talk. Let's move on to Matt Schnell, Marco Beltran. Before we get to that fight, Sean, please tell us where to find you.
Find me on Twitter at the DFS Sniper. Make sure to get over on my YouTube page. Give me a subscribe, please. Like, comment, preferably if it's nice. But you can go ahead and troll me. It's fine. It's fun. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to my YouTube page, and I guess hopefully definitely make sure you're subscribed here to Loudmouth MMA, the DFS Express, which would be DraftKings-centric picks and a lineup build, and possibly over there on MMA-today.com. I'm a good spokesman.
Thank you for clarifying the dash for people like Snowden, because they might accidentally go to MMAtoday.com, which is owned by some asshole that wants to sell it for $12,000.
Is it really?
Yes.
I mean, I gotta make my money somehow, Tony. Tony, where can we find you, buddy?
At Big Tone MMA, and also my website that's been shouted out multiple times.
MMA-today.com.
And then it's on Twitter at MMA Today News. So there you go.
All right, last fight.
So wait, since you're Big Tone, how big are you? And let's not take that gross.
250 pounds soaking wet.
There it is, baby.
How tall are you? Like 5'2"?
I'm like 5'9", almost 5'9", 5'10".
Well, he was gonna take. Not only did I buy MMA Today, but I also bought up the Lil Tone Twitter page. So, and I've been trying to sell it to him for $6,000. He hasn't taken the bite yet.
We should start a Lil Tone spoof Twitter.
We should totally do Lil Tone, and it's just us. I have an idea. Sean, let's talk. Sean, let's talk. We're gonna do a parody
Kyle's
account.
on his phone right now. This is scary.
I'm getting Lil Tone, and I'm gonna do a parody account of Tony. Oh God!
The first post has to be a retweet of his apology video. Apology in air quotes.
Exactly. All right, Matt Schnell taking on Marco Beltran. I'm picking Matt Schnell to win here. However, he has a serious chin issue. I'm not even trying to be shitty. He has a serious chin issue in the sense that I don't believe he should be fighting. I think if he gets a victory here, he should retire. And if he loses here, he should retire as well. I think this should be his last fight regardless.
If he loses, he's out of the UFC.
If he loses, he's out of the UFC and he should retire. He has a very serious chin issue. And if he loses, he's getting knocked out. And he's getting knocked out by a guy that has no business knocking anyone out. So I am going Matt Schnell here just because, again, the same thing I'll say that I said about Hector Sandoval. Matt Schnell is a really good fighter, and I think is the better fighter pretty much all the way around here. And Marco Beltran, holy shit, is not very good. I mean, just seriously, he's not very good. And you can't get hung up on records, but God, the man's 8-6. You know,
he has some very good wins in there, though. To be fair,
he does. I'm taking the last loss with a grain of salt. There was he shouldn't have been getting in the cage. Like, your brother dies and you get in the cage like a week later. No.
Yeah, but that's not why he got knocked down, or he got knocked out while, like, wasn't he on his? Where was he when he got knocked out? It was weird. It was one of the weirdest knockouts that I remember seeing. It was reminiscent. It was worse than the Serkinov knockout, where you're just like, what knocked you out? Like, what in that exchange knocked you out? You know,
I thought this was a doctor stoppage. No,
Sandoval got knocked out. Go watch that fight. Go watch. Sorry, Schnell. Go back.
Hold on. Wait.
We're talking about two different things.
We're talking about Marco. I was talking about Marco Psycho Beltran.
Oh yeah.
His loss to
sorry.
I was not.
Figueiredo. Figueiredo, yes. He got in the cage, right, Tone? I think it was like a week after his brother died.
I actually do remember that now.
He tried to get in the cage,
and I thought that was that a
that could have played
or something like that.
No, it was a round 2, just KO.
I don't think it was a normal like KO though.
There was something with it. I didn't go back and rewatch that one. I'll go back and rewatch the Marco Beltran and the what was that guy's name? Like Figueiredo? What was that man's name?
Yeah, Davison Alcantara. Figueiredo was the man. It was one of those Brazilians. You never know what their last name is.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me like a year ago from today, I would have totally picked Beltran because he was looking very impressive. He had that obviously Marlon Vera is very good, and then he had 2 solid wins after that.
I don't know, very good. I don't know, very good it is.
Brett Appley
that was a bit of a stretch.
He's cringing somewhere. He hates Marlon Chito.
That was a bit of a stretch.
Joe Soto just ruined this guy, though.
I was high on him, and then his last 2 fights happened.
But again, Joe Soto caught him. Was that the knee bar? Joe Soto caught someone in a knee bar. Joe Soto caught an early sub, and then I got beat to death at this point. He shouldn't have been in the cage in June. He shouldn't have been. So that plus Schnell's chin issue. I'm going to go with Beltran again. I don't feel
Schnell's chin issue, buddy.
Yeah.
If you guys have not watched that Matt Schnell Hector Sandoval fight, go watch it. It doesn't last long, so just go watch it. And it is one of the wonkiest knockouts you're ever going to see.
He pulls guard, which I hate.
And then gets knocked. It was just, what in the world?
No, but he consistent. When he was on Tough, he pulled guard. That's what he does. He pulls guard and finds subs. It's just...
Yeah,
it's not how you survive.
I don't know. Again, I don't feel very confident, but I'm still going to go Matt Schnell, but I don't feel very confident.
I just refreshed myself on that last fight of Beltran's. So this was the one where he was actually tagging. I don't know, whatever you want to call him.
Alcantara, it's easier.
Alcantara, yeah, that's the easiest one. And then in the second round, he got he was cut. He was really messed up. He looked really woozy. It was one of those things where the ref could have stepped in, but the round was ending and the round ended, and he could barely get to his stool, and that's when the fight got called off.
That's right. That was a doctor stoppage. I remember this now because of just Alcantara on the stool, and then all of a sudden started celebrating.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds right.
All right. Well, Beltran quit. Yeah, Beltran also quit in a fight. Yeah, that's what you guys were just talking about.
Where did he quit again?
No. It wasn't him. It was the ref. The ref wouldn't let him continue.
That was the Beltran fight. That was his last fight. Was that one?
Yes.
He didn't quit. He got that was.
He just wasn't allowed to continue.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get to his stool, so the ref saw that. And he was like, no, they waved it all off.
Why did I think that he had quit during a fight? I don't know why that's coming up.
You
Maybe
think all
something
Mexicans look alike? That's why.
Because your hatred of Nick Lentz has you blinded to all things MMA.
Blinded by the lens.
If Nick Lentz wins somehow, but beside most of my team being shot on DraftKings, I want you to do the rant immediately.
If Nick Lentz,
you need to interrupt your usual fight companion and do a live rant that you also record and post. Like, I want you to just lose your mind.
If Nick Lentz beats Will Brooks, I am going Rockstar Z style and just disappearing. Just one day I'm here, next day I'm gone. I'm gone.
Uncomfortable.
He just slammed Z like that.
Well, I didn't slam him. That's what he did. One day he was existing. He started losing fights. He couldn't handle it. So he just ghosted and sold his Twitter to someone and left. He's never been back.
He probably has like another Twitter account under a different name.
He didn't come back?
I don't think he came back. If he did, he came back under a hidden Twitter account, which wouldn't surprise me.
Wait, didn't Z used to post things for you, Tone? Like, wasn't he on MMA Dash Today at some point? Like betting breakdown?
He didn't really. No, they didn't really contribute much, honestly.
Well, he disappeared. He literally. This isn't a joke. He was. I wasn't making a shot at him.
Oh, you're right. July 17.
I wasn't making a shot at him. He literally did that. He had a Twitter. He was selling picks. He kept losing fights because that happens. Like, if you're MMA is really difficult to predict. So when you have these stretches, some of the best handicappers that we know have stretches where they lose. It is what it is. And for whatever reason, he just said, fuck it, and disappeared. And
to be fair,
unfollowed every single person on Twitter, or I think he sold his account or something, unfollowed every single person on Twitter, and that was it. Disappeared. So
to be fair, he did go on a pretty good run, but then, yeah, he did make
no, that's what I'm saying. It's not to be fair. I'm not making a shot at him. I'm fine with it. I have no problem. I was simply stating a reality. He existed 1 minute,
also
and then he didn't
probably not a good
next.
idea to take a shot at to constantly take shots at who is considered the best, MMA handicapper.
And
yeah, he was taking shots at Luca. Yeah, I remember this now.
Yeah, and Luca is tracked and proven to.
Luca's actually in a bit. I mean, since we're talking about, I'm not taking a shot at him. Dude's incredible, but he's on a bit of a rough stretch. It happens to everyone.
It happens. It doesn't matter.
Everyone.
This shit is so hard to predict, and you have to constantly be shifting your models of how you go about it. So that's why I know we're getting into the weeds a little bit here at the end of the episode, but that's why I want to stress to people that one of the things that I will always do, and I will unapologetically do this, is I will give no bullshit opinions on everything. Every single fight today I gave, and you guys did too, but I'm just referring to myself here. Every single fight on this card, I gave a yes or no. I left no fucking gray areas. And that's what so many people do in this industry, because they are terrified of being wrong, because being wrong they perceive as delegitimizing you in the community. So that's why I can't keep consistent co-hosts on here. And again, I'm not making shots at anybody, but it's difficult. That's like Sean. Sean is the exact same way. He will draw hard lines on just about everything, and it's really difficult.
And I take shit.
And
I'm actually looking back. I'm hovering again with. I've been tracked since. Let me do my little history here. I have it up since I only started tracking myself February of this year, and for the year, I'm -5 units, -2 ROI, but I'm slowly. I had one horrendous card, and I'm creeping back up.
Well, and
plenty of cards I took tons of shit on, and plenty of cards I was right.
When I'm talking about on the podcast, you give hard opinions one way or another, even if you don't necessarily feel that strongly, because
I just told you my bets.
I have listened to podcasts where the two people who are talking are basically just giving every single possible gray area, and then they're moving on to the next fight. That is boring. Nobody wants to listen to it. I would rather give you my hardline opinion and then give you ammunition later to tell me how stupid I am, because I think it's better. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that the shit's really, really hard to predict. If you're one of those people who pounces on someone because they're wrong, you need to understand that they are wrong because they're drawing a hard line on something that is very, very difficult to predict. And if they're willing to draw the hard line in the first place, they fucking deserve your respect. They deserve your respect because they're willing to potentially delegitimize themselves in an incredibly competitive industry for your entertainment. Because at the end of the day, there are a million podcasts, and it is really hard to break into this. So the more that I am wrong and the more that Sean is wrong, the tougher it is for us to sludge through it. So thankfully, for the most part, we tend to be right. I mean, we're pretty decent. We've had bad cards. Humble brag. But that's the only reason why we could even do it in the first place. But my main point here is just like, it's twofold. It's one, respect people who are willing to give opinions, because this is a really tough industry. And two, give opinions, people. If you host a podcast or if you give opinions, stop talking everything gray, then move on to the next thing. Quit it. Give opinions. Like, man up.
Here's your opinions.
Can I just say,
yep.
As probably the most wishy-washy guy on this podcast, it's not because I'm afraid of being wrong. It's totally not. It's not. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that some of these fights are so close to call. The matchmaking is incredibly. This isn't like Bellator prelims where you got guys, minus 800 or whatever. Like some of these fights are ridiculously hard to call, and I guess I'm just not comfortable drawing hard lines in the sand in some of them.
Got to do it. You got to do it. No, Tony, you do a fantastic job. Sean, you do a fantastic job. Tony, you do a fantastic job.
Here are your goddamn hard lines. We're going to wrap it up. Ferguson, 3 units, minus 200. Tavis Ladies, 1 unit, plus 170. Might add to it. Verdum Lewis, Kyle, under 2.5 rounds, minus 130. And Demetrius Johnson, max bet, inside the distance, minus 140. Go bet it.
Tony?
Go.
Hardline?
I'm pulling them up right now. Can you stall for me?
Of course I can. I can always stall for you. You guys can find the podcast.
Guys, get a ball.
You guys can find the podcast at Loudmouth MMA. That is on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcasts. You should be able to find mine. Wherever you are listening to this right now is perfectly fine with me. Just remember to subscribe and leave us a review. Tony, did I stall long enough?
Yes, you did. So I'm doing a parlay of Bibliotov and Tavares, which I think are the two sure things on this card, pretty much.
Tavares is your sure thing?
Wait, I messed that up. No, that's not right. It's Bibliotov and
Ferguson.
Shit. I totally messed this up. No, it's not Ferguson. Oh God.
Did you accidentally bet on? Did you accidentally bet? Okay, I'm going to stall a bit more here. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Loudmouth MMA as well, and on Facebook, guys. Instagram as well, Loudmouth MMA. Just search up Loudmouth MMA. That's
it. Was Brooks. How the hell did I get those two confused?
And Will Brooks.
Yes, it was Bibliotov and Will Brooks. Those are the two guys that I have the most supreme confidence in on this card. And it doesn't come out. It's not exactly the best odds. I think it comes out to minus. Where did that go? Minus. I don't know. Go to Five Dives and find out. But I'm all in on people at the top. And
it comes out to money.
It comes out to money. All right, hour and a half long episode. Let's get the fuck out of here. See you guys.
Thank you.